Hello, creatives, and welcome back to the Empowered Creatives podcast, finding confidence between hustle and burnout. I'm your host, Victoria Hines, and this week I'm super excited to bring an old friend onto the pod this week, Indy Chonk. Indy is a psychiatric nurse by day and a surreal artist by night based in the UK. And Indy likes to bring the world these works of the faceless man. It focuses on what he likes to call the 5 M's: meditation, music, mindfulness, mental health, and mindset. I'm going to let him talk more about his art later on in the podcast, but I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of background. We actually met, probably like a year and a half ago over on Clubhouse, which we were talking about before I hit record on this podcast, how that was such an app that had its heyday and then sort of mellowed out. But I'm very grateful to that app for the connections I got to meet. And I'm really excited to bring Indy on the show today. Welcome.
Hi, Victoria. Welcome. Love the intro. Thank you very much. And thank you again for inviting me here to talk about the art and how we met and the journey onwards from here also. So I'm very much appreciated. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Before we dive in, I love the fact, similar to me, you're somebody who works multiple careers. So I know you identify as a psychiatric nurse as well as an artist. Are there any other words or things you like to introduce yourself to the world as?
I think those are the great ways, great explanations in terms of the way I'm defined these days. A nurse during the day and a surreal artist. Well, I'll call myself at night. Partly as well, maybe a Muay Thai and boxing fighter in my spare time as well.
Oh, wow.
But I've kind of reduced that and mainly focus on the art these days. So that's my first love, and just trying to push it as much as I can now.
I love that. Before I ask you more about the art, I'm going to ask you a really important question. And I think one of my goals from this podcast is, what do artists and creatives need to know is possible today?
That's a very good question. I think the sky is your limit, really. When I done this, I didn't have, I didn't know where I'm going to go. I mean, I didn't know I was going to set up a website. I didn't know that now I'm doing commissions. I've even met some real big celebrities in the house music scene, music genre, and some UK rappers also. So, I mean, just to even see your own work displayed on one, Instagram, secondly, a website, third, people are asking you for commissions, and it's it's random people I don't even know, who we become real friends. I've done commissions such as people's 50th birthday. So I mean, literally, the sky is your limit. It's just about how bad do you want it? How bad are you going to push? And I think the most important part is, how much do you believe yourself? Now, I didn't know all these things are possible, but one thing is, I've always held a belief about my work. I know it's deep. I know it's spiritual. I know if I have a conversation, no one can tell me about my art. I know it deeply. I believe in it. So that's one thing I would always say. You can imagine the world, you can have whatever you want, but if you don't believe it, then it ain't gonna start from there. That's where it starts.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the beginning of your art journey and what that looked like for you?
Yeah. So where do I go? So I mean, I've done GCSE art, but I mean, for that it's as a UK GCSE, and I stepped into college, and that was A-level art. But when you hear types of art, that isn't art in the fact that I learned how to paint, I learned how to do this. It was nothing like that. It was just basic art school. I'm not even art school, basic art class. We had art teachers there letting us know about the history, mainly about the history of art. And then you get a theme, and then you kind of you get a theme, say, such as like mental health, for example, and you'd relate your art piece the whole semester towards that theme. But that was school days. Then I went to university. I studied something completely different, which was sociology, BA honors in
Mhm.
sociology. Um, but I was still painting in my spare time. Somehow I loved it, and I was always just painting. Even when I was going out, when I used to come back to London on the weekends, somehow in the partying, I don't even know how, I still used to paint. So it still started from there that I was still painting. I used to go to museums and exhibitions by myself. Back then, I was just painting little things like Godfather portrait, Scarface, all these just little characters that get everyone boosted, and little things like that. And then I went to a exhibition, and I used to ask for advice, take my phone, show them pictures, and this one artist said it was a life. It was I hands down today. It's a life-changing move. What he said it's great, you can paint, but there's no story. And then I just thought, you
Mm.
know what, he's right. I'm just painting anyone, whoever I want. So then after that, I went back and I just went into real deep reflection, started looking into my life. Of what do I like? And little things kept propping up. I was once in a festival down in Germany, and there was a big music face. I'm very deeply into house music. And there was a big face, and I was just looking at this face early hours in the morning. I was like, you know what? It's all about the mind. And then suddenly from there, my work just evolved. I got into spirituality. I was always spiritual, but then sometimes you find yourself, and I found myself in spirituality. I found my internal self. And from there, it just evolved. And that's to the point where I am now in the
Mm.
Faceless Man, just as you introduced earlier.
I love that that was such a defining moment for you. And I feel like, we've all as artists had those moments where somebody comes to us and gives us feedback. And I feel like it either goes one of two ways. Either we shut down and we get
Yeah.
into that dark place of, oh, this means I'm not good enough. I'm never
Mm,
going to make it. I'm less than, all those deep dark thoughts. Or
mm,
what you did, and you leaned into the mindfulness, you leaned into the moment, and you leaned into almost your curiosity and said, okay, if the story's not there, let me go discover that. That's such a beautiful story arc. Do you think in some ways mindfulness and your spirituality has really impacted the path that you're on?
yeah, completely. I think also a huge part is my faith as well. Religion, it is spirituality also. So I've always been a religious person. Now, I might not follow the certain ethics and codes of full religion, but I do still believe in God, and I do my best as a human being. So that was always underneath me internally. And yes, just all the things, all the factors came together. But one thing was, I was curious, as you said. I've always been the person to ask people, "Oh, what do you think of this?" or "How can I improve?" So I've always had that element that I do want to improve, and I've always taken advice on board. But I do understand that for some people that is difficult. It can be hindering. Or you know what, this person doesn't like my art. This person doesn't. It can go under left or right. Luckily, I took that as a right and just said, you know what, this person is right. There's no story here. I need to create a story. And then the other thing is, you learn, isn't it? Yeah, I was going around the exhibition. I was looking at people, speaking to them, and hearing the story, and all of them had a story piece. And I was thinking, you know what, they're right. I couldn't see, and the funny thing is, on the walls, I mean, whatever they brought to their exhibition, I couldn't see no Godfather, couldn't see no Scarface. So it was like a smack in the face also to say, okay, you know what, you're just painting anything and everything here. So, and I guess in life, the beauty of life is sometimes is that everyone else has the answer for you. And some elements of is truth that some people do have the critical eye, and it does depend how you take that. I'm not saying that what everyone says is right, because I do also believe that part of us have answers within ourselves. But as you said, I mean, I'm happy I took that advice on board, and now my art has just excelled, with that core belief and that core, staying true to the story that I want to show everyone.
Hmm, that's amazing. How long ago was this that you found this storyline and started developing it with the Faceless Man?
I say it was like I think 2012, 2011. But I was
Okay.
always painting. I was always painting, but it was
Yeah.
real that one piece of advice that he gave me was really, 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 really deep. And after that, after 2012, a story began. I created two pieces first, which I didn't really call the faceless man. It was just a man with headphones, and then certain things were going on, and it was a spiritual piece. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm onto something. This is what I'm this is it. And I just from there, it always grew. And now the other thing is that people tag me and just, someone tagged me with a monkey and headphones. They're like, oh, look, it's like your work. So when people now see headphones, they tag me in there. So it's great that, it's also kind of a brand.
Yeah.
This man with the headphone, it's a brand as well. What is come credit to now? But the other thing I want to say is that I didn't just stumble upon this. I was searching. I
Mm.
was searching into many different things. I was into spirituality. I was into philosophy. I was into deep thinking. I was always a deep thinker, actually. So all these things combined over years and years. So you look at 2012 up to now, it's taken this long. It wasn't an overnight success.
Absolutely.
Mm.
That was what I was wanting to understand was like what was that, how long was that journey? Because I was curious if this was like 3 years ago where you stumbled on the answer and you're like, okay, this is it. And now you're getting commissions and you're having all of this success. But with your story, I mean, it really is a 10-year journey.
Yeah. Um, and it wasn't just, I mean, that was one of the defining moments. But then when I was in Germany, I can't remember, that was another one which added to the faceless man. So there was loads of little
Mm.
plots scattered around. It was just for me to gather those pieces together and think, okay, you know what, I'm onto something. And
Mm.
finally, I think now I've got a puzzle. I've got a good piece of the puzzle, and that's now I can. There's only room for me to expand now.
That's amazing. It's so frustrating, but always the case that we can't really put the dots together until it's in the past.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of life as well. I think it's not just the good things that have got me there; it's the bad things as well. It's the
Mm.
the dark moments that I've been in my life which have got me here as well. We all go through things, yes, but it's about the perception later on, how we start to perceive those things and what we do from there.
How do you get through? 'Cause I would be curious if you're willing to
Mm,
share. How do you talk yourself through those dark times to get to that positive perception, or at least
I think,
optimistic
yeah,
perception?
yeah. I think this is what makes my art so authentic and truthful because just as you said earlier, what I call the 5 M's: meditation, music, mindfulness, mindset, mental health. Those are all the things which really kept me stable, as well as my religion, my faith, but that will fall under meditation and mindfulness. Um, good support network around me. And the other thing is that when you're in dark moments, that's the time to explore as well. That's the time to reflect.
Mm.
These days when I go through things, I try look with an open mind. Okay, I'm in a dark space, but what's going on? Only recently I've started to realize the critical thoughts that I'm having. Always wanting to be better, always pushing myself, always. Once you start watching your thoughts, there's a great talk Alan Watts on becoming the watcher. So watch your thoughts. This is once you start watching things, you notice things in a different way. One thing I'll say it's about watch the habits, see what you're doing, look at the thoughts that you're having, look at the people you're having around yourself, what works well, what doesn't, and from there, hopefully, you can find some answers to improving your life.
Mm. Do you feel like you always tended towards that level of reflection, or is this something you've learned to do through the years?
I mean, even when I look back at my GCSE art, which I would have been 15, 16 years old, the pieces there that I was creating was really thought provoking. And I was thinking, I just looked back at one of them a couple of weeks ago and I was thinking, damn, how the hell at 15, 16 was I thinking? Was I thinking stuff of that? The art it was a hand, and in the hand it had a keyhole, and um, and
Mm.
it was, and I'd done a painting of Christ, but on keys instead of the cross, because what I wanted to show was religion was the key. And I was just thinking at 15, 16, how the hell did I come up with something like that? And that
Wow.
was before I even heard of Salvador Dali. I've always been a deep thinker, but over time you start to understand a lot more. And I'm on this journey of reflection. I'm on this journey of wanting to improve myself. There's there's so much more I've got to do. And the thing is, I'm curious. I'm open to understand myself.
I love that. Before I dive back into the episode, I wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about my free creative career audit. So this is a workbook that you can find on my website. And this is good for any creative, whether you've just graduated college, you're balancing that 9-to-5 job with your creative side hustle like Indy and myself, or you're working 1,001 part-time jobs trying to make ends meet while pursuing your craft. This workbook is designed to help you hone in on what are the things in your career now and in the past that have lit you up inside? And what are the things that drain you? This audit is there to help you know, how do you carve a career and start intentionally building a career where you do more and more and more of the things that energize you versus drain you. So you can head to the link in the show notes below for the episode, and you can grab a link to that workbook, or at the top of my website at www.victoriahines.com, you will find it there as well. Let's dive back in. Have you always identified as a surrealist artist? You mentioned that you were painting some of this stuff even before you knew of Salvador Dali.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was only then in GCSE art that I was painting these things, or these deep ideas. I was always good at connecting things. I might not have been the best drawer then, but you give me 5 things and I can connect them really well. And then I remember the art teacher, one of the greatest art teachers, he was really good. He gave me a quote which I always learned by, which is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That always stuck in my head. But he introduced me to Salvador Dali. He gave me one of the postcards, and one of those paintings was Glitter of Spears. And from there, I was just like, who the hell is this guy? Because just he thought like I thought he thought like me. I was thinking, wow, this work's amazing. And from there, I was just like, I mean, it was love at first sight.
Oh man, I wonder if we can swivel into something new. I would love to know, would you mind speaking to a moment in your life or your career where you felt very unbalanced?
Yeah, I mean, before working as a psychiatric nurse, I used to work in logistics. So I used to work in one of the top accounts, which was for Victoria's Secret's women's.
Wait, that was my first job ever, was working at that company. Yes.
But I used to import. I used to do the imports, the imports into the UK. So I didn't really see the products. I used to see more of the big boxes.
Yep.
But I used to
the warehouse.
Yeah. Yeah. And we used to get those delivered to the flagship store. So I used to be in logistics, and I was just thinking, well, what the hell am I doing out here? Stressful when working with top people. And I was just like, this isn't something I want to do. And then from there, I had an inner calling. And I remember I went back to my PC and I wrote a little statement. And I still got that on my hard drive somewhere. It was a statement to say, you know what, how am I feeling, or what do I want to do? And there's always an element of care within me. I've always loved to help people. And from there, I got into helping people getting off drugs. And from there, it just evolved. I've done a postgraduate in mental health nursing. And hopefully I'll be looking into doing a master's in psychotherapy and counseling as well.
Oh, wow. So, and this is just me trying to also understand UK schooling and all that jazz, but you went to art school and then sociology degree.
No, not art school. It was just in normal school. It was one of the things that you can take is you can select either doing art and design, or doing DT, design technology, or doing PE. So I chose art. One of them I chose art.
Amazing. So art in like our equivalent of high school, I'm assuming, in the US.
Yeah.
So you did art in high school, went to college for sociology.
College was in UK. I went to high school, then I went to college, then I went to university. I studied BA honors in sociology.
Okay.
Then I came back, done a few various jobs, worked in security, worked for Currys. Then I got a job in logistics. Then from there, I moved into the helping supportive career, substance misuse. From there, I went back to university, done a postgraduate in mental health nursing, and as it stands, I'm a nurse at the moment.
That's incredible. Do you feel like art has always been at the same level of dedication during all these different points in your journey?
No, I think at the moment now it's probably at its highest it's ever been, the
Mm,
peak. I think I'm just when you get a glimpse of how far you can go, you start putting a lot more time in, and as well as wanting it and believing it. So back then, when I first started, I just used to paint on the weekends whenever I can. Now I'm really finding the slots to paint. I'm pushing myself even more. So I think now that I've got a website, now that I've got Instagram, it's definitely excelled, and I have to push myself. Yeah. So
mm. When you think back, what was that defining moment to where you decided to move your art career sort of like up to the next level?
I don't think there was one set defining moment. I think it was a couple. I remember I always used to get a lot of people ask me, "Hey, can you paint me this?" And I was like, "Oh no, no, I want to focus on my ideas." But I don't know if that was a part of me being fearful as well. So one was
Mm,
always people used to asking me. Secondly, one of my good friends said, "Listen, I'll help you create a website." Back then, again, I was like, "No, no, let me create a brand first, then I'll create a website." I don't know if that was fair or if I actually had a plan of creating a great portfolio for myself. And then Instagram, then I joined Instagram, and then I started continuously posting about my art. I didn't even have a website then, and a lot of people started following. The momentum grew, and then I thought, okay, I'm onto something. So then I created the website, and then my sister put me into touch with someone who wanted to do a commission piece for me. I mean, for me
mm.
to do a commission piece for them. Again, I was kind of putting it off, and my sister's like, she pushed me. She's like, go on, just do it. And from there, that was the first one I'd done. And after that, I started getting commissions. So I think elements of it was fear.
Yeah. How long did you say no to the commissions?
I think it would be a long time. I think from when I first even started around, not first, but 2012, when I got the idea of Faceless Man, probably about 7, 8 years, I think.
Oh, wow. So you
Yeah.
sort of like waiting 7 or 8 years before you're like, okay, I'll finally
Yeah.
put this out here.
Yeah. And even the first commission was kind of a push. I mean, it was a push for my sister. It was like, just do it, just do it. And it wasn't about the money. It was always about, can I paint? Can I give a great piece? And secondly, I only wanted to do commissions. I didn't want to paint just portraits. I want to do my own ideas. So that was one of the first things. But it took a while. Now I'll happily take a commission, as long as I've got time, free space. But as you can see, it took a long time, and I think a part of it was fear.
So easy, I think, for us as humans to like fear can be a scary thing, but it can also feel like a warm blanket.
Yeah.
And it feels like the safe place to be in to protect ourselves from criticism or even fearing success or fearing what's
Mm,
coming next. And I doubt you knew in the moment. I mean, because if you waited 7 or 8 years, that means like 2 to 3 years before now you're getting all of these bigger commissions and sort of seeing this blow up in a way you couldn't have imagined.
yeah. But I think it's 50-50 as well, because if I didn't wait that long, then I would not have developed a strong foundation. Like
Mm,
at this point
yeah.
now, I've got a great foundation. I've got a great collection of works of the Faceless Man, and I've turned down commissions as well happily, because some people have said they want this, and I was like, no, I do it my way. It's with the Faceless Man. So part of it is, yes, I waited until I've got a very good set foundation. I'm strong in those foundation skills, but
Mm.
there's also a fear of getting it wrong, fear of people thinking I'm a rubbish artist. 50-50.
Absolutely. Can I ask how do you feel right now, maybe this month, maybe this year, maybe this week, about balancing your full-time job as a psychiatric nurse with this newfound success as an artist?
Yeah, I guess that's the challenging part. So Saturdays, it's all art Saturdays from, I say, 7 or 8 o'clock when I wake up until whenever I finish the painting, which will be late evening. Is if I do, I paint in my room, stay there, the till show and get a cup of tea and to eat. So it's like full 8 to 12 hours art. And then from Monday to Friday after work, I will sketch out ideas that I need, or I'll try watch some YouTube videos, and Sundays rest. But it is a lot of work, but I have to push myself. Otherwise, I don't know. I I have to push myself because there's so much more I can achieve, and I know it. If this is just the beginning.
Do you ever find yourself needing periods of rest or feeling like you're pushing yourself too hard?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's today. I was supposed to paint, but I've held it off today. And I think just recently I've been watching a lot of my thoughts, and it's always I want, I should, I have to. I've kind of replaced those now. Like I would like to. I understand the importance of things. So now I am trying to take a little step back just to understand myself, have a break, not pushing myself extremely hard. So you can have rest days, and it's important for that as well. Not every day needs to be a post, which I got into the habit of as well. Um, Instagram is great. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it can also be quite, dangerous in the fact that you are giving yourself so much energy out to other people, posting continuously.
Yeah.
So it is about, as you said, resting now, having little breaks. I mean, good breaks and restful breaks when I can, and get back to that energetic flow.
Hmm. I like that. Yeah, I've definitely found once I launched a business, intentionally scheduling moments of rest is something that
Mm,
became even more important than it ever was before. Because, I mean, even social media becomes this place where you feel like you're producing. So you're not only producing art or producing a podcast or producing whatever you're making, and then suddenly you're producing marketing and producing content. And that's a lot of giving and giving and giving and giving. And eventually, I feel like sometimes we give so much that at the end of the day, our cup's empty. And you can't keep giving from that empty place. At some point, you have to like refill it back up again.
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think just recently, I mean, a couple of months maybe, with the start of the year, I think Instagram changed its algorithms as well. So, the content pushers was always saying, you got to push, you got to push, you got to push. And I think from the beginning of the year till now, I was every day posting, 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 posting.
Oof.
Sometimes I was running out of things to post, just posting things. Well, most times posting things for the sake of it. And I was just like, you know what? This has got to stop. If people want to follow me, they follow me for who I am, and the art that I produce. So I have taken a step back in that, and I think that comes down to mindfulness and mindset, mental health, meditation, the things that I reflect in my work. It's about being aware and taking a step back. What are you doing? How much are you giving of yourself? And what, more importantly, what do you need to give to yourself? Most of the times, that is a restful break.
Mm, absolutely. So, if I were to ask you to give sort of like a 1 minute summary or your 1 minute piece of advice
Yeah.
on how artists today can feel confident in their careers, especially towards artists
Mm.
maybe who are balancing a full time job as well as creating their art, what would you tell them?
I would just say, start from the beginning, which is why you're doing it, and believe in yourself. I think when you do those things, you will produce authentic things. From what I've done is I've believed myself from the beginning, and I've always produced authentic stuff. So when I am posting and when I am pushing my art, it's from the heart. Even when I've turned down commissions, that's purely because I believed in my work. When someone wanted something else, I would say, no, no, you can have it in this way. So I was always in charge. Put it in a way that you're in charge. Secondly, in terms of work, yes, I think you've got to be realistic as well. I am realistic. I've got bills to pay. I've got a future that I still want as a career. If art, I've always believed that I will produce art as a side hustle for the meantime, and if it does, um, if it does go far, then I'm willing to push that as well. But I'm also understand living in London. It's a very expensive place. You've got to be realistic. Things cost, so you've got to have a work. You've got to have a career. So it's about finding a career that you enjoy as well. And just remember, after hours, if you want to put the work in, there's a chance. On the weekends, I have stopped going out a lot for the past 2-3 years, and that was, if you knew me, I would be partying Friday, Saturday hard. So, I even reduced that. There's sacrifices you got to make. Just as I said, Saturdays I'm doing 8 to 12 hour shifts of painting that's starting from 7 to 8 in the morning. And before that, on the weekends after work, I'm sketching things. So it's about finding the space, finding the time. And I think also understand your timetable, create a spreadsheet of what do you do in your hours. Okay, if 9 to 5 is work,
Mm-hmm.
6 o'clock, you might come back, half an hour, shower, eat things. How many hours you got to play around with? So all these things factor in, and just enjoy it. You don't know where you can go. You really don't. So just enjoy it. That's the key thing as well. Enjoy the process.
I love that. I think you might have hit on every single piece of like what I think like makes an empowered creative. So I love your piece of advice there. Last but not least, Indy, where can people find you?
Oh, great. www.indychonk.com. That's INDYCHONK.com. And you can find me on Instagram. That's at Indy_Chonk. Follow me, message me, get to know me, talk to me about my work, whatever you like. And, hey, if you want a commission piece as well with the Faceless Man, to come to.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Thank you so much, Indy, for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It's been a pleasure. It's been amazing.
I am so incredibly grateful that Indy Chonk is one of the amazing human beings that I happen to meet on Clubhouse. His poise, his mindfulness, his intentionality in the stories he shares and the advice he gives just blew me away the first time I ever talked to him. And I'm so glad I got to introduce you to him as well. So here is your one thing for this week. This one's going to be a question for you. So you can either ponder this question, or I also encourage you to write down what answers come to you. How is fear protecting you? And what would be possible if you let it go? All right. Thank you for joining the episode this week. And if you enjoyed it, definitely be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on some more amazing guest artists that I will be bringing onto the show in the months ahead. So hit that subscribe button and tell your friends. Until next week, I'll see you, creative.